So the buzz that we're seeing in South Africa is really huge in terms of the development of qualifications, our board exams that our risk managers are taking, our events, our conferences. We are seeing such a growth in our numbers, and people are looking at us for the answers.
I think it's quite important when you rolling out risk management that you develop a broad enough framework, and particularly in our group, where you have different levels of maturity of the organisation.
Our risk management policy and framework was set up a couple of years ago, and it's updated on an annual basis and approved by the board, and then it's communicated across the bank. Every staff member in the bank needs to know that they are also risk managers and what their role is as part of that.
Risk management, the theory is all understood by Exco, the theory is all understood by the board, or especially Exco and management. But when it comes to actually implementing risk management in an organisation, it's really a tick box exercise. It's still seen as just something that you write in your annual report.
And so the organisations that we see that are struggling at the moment in South Africa are probably those that are not using these highly skilled risk managers effectively.
It's quite important that we establish a common language and a common framework from where we can then compare risks within operations, risks when we actually then consolidate up to divisions, and then when we're comparing divisions against each other.
Particularly in a banking environment as ours is, it's critical that you understand how important risk management is.
What we do find at very senior levels is that there's complete buy-in, very high, because they understand the governance and their role and accountability with regards to risk management.
We are getting the buy-in from many of our corporate members. What it means to us is that if your corporates are joining an organisation such as this, it means that they realise how important risk management is. And we have many corporate members that we work with, one of them being Barnow, where we rely on them for the thought leadership and their support in terms of what we're trying to do.
It's about ethical culture, sustainable performance and value creation, adequacy and effectiveness. It's about reputation, legitimacy. So all of these things are aspirational. It's what all organizations should be aspiring to be. And we as risk practitioners and all of us play a valuable role in actually taking this from the theory and making it practical.
Twice annually, each and every business unit head in the bank has to do a risk and control self-assessment of their environment. So they need to understand what their processes are, what their risks are, and what controls they've got in place for those.
We have a very established shared service internal audit function, which is wonderful for our group because you get a centre of excellence.
We have a separate risk management department, but it's broken up into different kinds of risks. So we would have somebody who's responsible for credit risk. We have somebody who's responsible for market risk or liquidity risk. We have somebody who's responsible for operational risk. So all of those different kinds of risks are viewed and are monitored and managed across the bank.
We're constantly updating our inventory of risks. Obviously at reporting level, we tend to report on our top 5 or our top 10 residual risks. However, the companies are required to, on an ongoing basis, update their database of risks.
If you look at our risk report from January 2016 that was released, and the risks that are facing industry and South Africa as a whole, it's quite a tricky environment that we're in at the moment. The challenges are there.
Risk management is core in governing organisations, but it's also core in achieving your objectives, and that we're taking responsible decisions to add value. And I also think what we've allowed risk management to become is that it's not just a negative.
And I'm glad to see that King 4 talks now about opportunity management, and I think that's a very big step in the right direction, because risk management is very negative, and people think, and when you're trying to run a business, you're trying to think positively at all times, and you don't want to think about what can go wrong. It's obviously very important to think about what can go wrong, but I like the swing towards opportunity management, because as we all know, business is about risk and reward. If you don't take risks, you don't get reward, but they need to be calculated risks, and you need to have a finger on the pulse as to what the true risks are.
I think risk management has evolved phenomenally. I think most of the growth has come as a result of the Basel Capital Accord, particularly in banking. So we've seen a lot of requirements and a lot of growth needs in the business because of the fact that we've needed to comply with some of those requirements.
Do we leave out risk management? I think you're taking a big chance then. So what you need to do, it needs to be one of your first ports of call, because your risk manager is really needed in the organization.